This Parliament is on track to be the first in modern history where living standards in this country have actually contracted. Now, over the last 13 years, we may have become a little desensitised to findings like this. But these aren't the concerns of the past. This isn't living standards rising too slowly, or unequal contractions and concentrations of wealth and opportunity. This is Britain going backwards. What this does to a country, the cultural trauma, this needs to be understood. I go back to the 1970s, growing up in an ordinary working-class household, a decade where we had our fair share of cost of living crises. I know what this feels like. I know when you're struggling to make ends meet, and we were, that the natural response of working people to work harder and harder can feel like you're running faster and faster into a brick wall. That rising prices create this kind of what next anxiety, a fear, and it really is that, of going to the shops because of the decisions you might have to make. And yet, that graph shows unequivocally that this is worse than the 1970s, worse than the recessions of the 1980s and 1990s, worse even than the global crash of 2008. And what this feels like is a clouding over, a loss of the future. Because what my parents felt in the 1970s was that whilst day-to-day life was often tough, the future would be a happier place. Britain would be better for your children. Hard work in the end, in the long run, would be rewarded. And that was actually a comfort to them, a security blanket, if you like. But one which for working people in Britain now, sadly, no longer exists. If we are privileged enough to be elected next year, the quack diagnosis, the search for distractions and excuses, all of that ends. Because the defining purpose of the next Labour government, the mission that stands above all others, will be raising Britain's productivity growth, a goal that for my Labour Party will become an obsession.